morning everyone, it's me Marcy. I'm in my own kitchen on a Monday morning and I'm going to do the same routine that I do almost every week, and I thought you might like to see what it is. So this is how I set my week up. Do you ever get groceries, as I did on the weekend, and you come home and you spent, like $300 on groceries and there's still nothing to eat? All there are is ingredients, nothing is ready to go. So these are the steps that I take to prevent snacking on things like crackers or things that are unnecessary. Just a little bit of meal prep helps to organize my week. So I'm going to start with my large bar pan. This is the most famous piece of stoneware that we have. It's the largest size, the largest surface area, and I think every kitchen needs a couple of them. When you get it, it'll be pale beige and it'll feel coarse and sandpapery. After you've loved it as long as I have, it'll look more like this one and it'll feel very smooth to the touch. When it feels smooth, you'll know that it's non-stick. And the only thing you really have to think about with your stoneware pan is that you cover it, 75% of the surface area needs to be covered with food that's not frozen. So things, and the food has to be spread out. So things like ribs. I would never cook ribs on a bar pan because a very small portion of the ribs is actually touching the pan and there's a good chance that it'll break. Instead, it's great for things with a crust, pizza, cookies, buns. Today I'm using it for bacon. So stoneware, being a natural product, has great thermal qualities. It's going to go on the bottom rack of the oven nearest the element, and it's going to absorb the heat from the bottom, and it's actually going to start cooking from the bottom up with the pan while it's baking from the top down. So because it does that, it cooks everything outside to in. It's perfect for anything with a crust or anything that you don't want to have to turn halfway. So the bacon, I for sure don't want to have to turn halfway. So I'm going to cook it for about 20 minutes, well, till it's done actually, at 350. No hotter than 350 or you will have a mess in your oven. But at 350, it doesn't spit, it doesn't sputter, and it doesn't leave that 3-day bacon smell. So this is a great way to season your pan. When you get it, if you cook bacon on it right away, it'll feel smoother rather than sandpapery really quick. Okay, so it does develop a natural kind of a patina that's going to keep things from sticking. It's really a lovely thing for anything with a crust. Like I said, because it cooks outside in, it cooks the edges nice and crisp, equal color on the top and the bottom for your cookies and your pizza, but it cooks the edges nice and crisp, and then it leaves the middles soft and moist. So the results on a bar pan or on a piece of stoneware in general are terrific. All right, so I'm going to pop that in the oven, bottom shelf, about 20 minutes till it's done. Really, that's how long it is till it's done to my liking. All right, the next thing, and so when that's done, I'm gonna just put it on a paper towel to drain, and then I'll remove it from the pan, put it on a paper towel to drain, and then once it's cooled, I just put it in Tupperware in the freezer so that it's ready to go for a quick quesadilla, a salad in a jar, or a breakfast sandwich. I love a good breakfast sandwich. Okay, so the biggest thing I can do in advance to prevent snacking on high sugar foods is to have some chicken cooked and in the fridge ready. So yesterday I went to Walmart and I picked up some chicken breasts. It's the cheapest place in town to buy chicken unless it's on sale somewhere, and the dates are always terrific. So this is good in the fridge until August 23rd, and so it's really easy to have chicken thawed in the fridge ready for a quick supper. Or I also I do pre-cook some. So I leave some raw and I pre-cook some, and then we're less likely to be tempted to order out if there's chicken raw in the fridge waiting to be cooked. So I often buy meat that has dates, and I work from those dates. when I meal plan. So this is $10 a pack if you buy 2, and oftentimes if you hunt, you can find one that's larger than a kilogram. This one's 1.15 kilograms, so it's about 150 grams bonus even at that cheap price. All right, so I'm gonna take my chicken breasts and I'm gonna put them in the pan. I'm gonna start cooking them on the stove, and then I'm gonna pop them in the oven. So I'm using my cast iron pan. I cook for a family of 5, so I do use the 12-inch. And cast iron is good for a number of reasons, but today it's because it's so responsive. It's gonna use all of the heat that it's given. It's gonna transfer it through so efficiently, and it's gonna instantly cook the edges of my chicken. And every time you can add a stage to your food, you add a ton of flavor. So what we're gonna do is actually caramelize the natural sugars in the chicken, and it's gonna create this really deep, rich flavor on the outside of the chicken. And then once the edges are cooked and the juice is sealed inside, I'm gonna pop that into the oven, and we're gonna cook that at a more gentle pace through to the middle, and it'll retain all of the juice, okay? So this is how you create a super flavorful chicken breast. So cast iron, our pieces come pre-seasoned, they're ready to go, and they're made by Lodge. So, you know, there's some good information too. Created in the USA, which is important to note when you're talking about cast iron. So I'm gonna put that on the stove, and I'm gonna put a little bit, I'll turn it on here to about medium heat, and I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and I'm gonna heat that up. So it should be good and sizzling when I'm ready, okay? So this is the closing cut. It's one of my favorite, the favorite items in my kitchen. The gray plates push back so that you have whatever you have on the gray plates, when you close the lid, this is still going to be the center, all right? So I'm gonna take a chicken breast here, and chicken breasts have a fat end and a skinny end, and if you cook them until the fat end is done, the skinny end will be dry, and chicken is far too expensive to waste the skinny ends that way. So I'm gonna put it on here. No matter how I cook a chicken breast, I run it through this machine first. So barbecue or, you know, pressure cooker, no matter how I cook my chicken breast, this is what happens to it first. So you can see it's all the fat end here and the skinny end here. I'm gonna close the lid, and I'm gonna take a knife that's 8 inches or longer. Now, if you buy the close and cut, you can buy it with the knife, and it has built-in savings, or you can buy it just on its own. But I'm going to use my 8-inch chef's knife, which is freshly sharpened, and I'm gonna just saw through it. I'm gonna make sure that the tip never comes back inside of it. It always stays on the outside, okay? So we'll just run that through, and what we end up with is a perfect thin chicken breast, all right? So I'm gonna do a couple here, so let's watch that again. I actually think I might do 3 this morning. All right, this one's a bit smaller, but it should still meet the middle. Okay, so this is a great tool for lots of things, not just chicken, although I do use it most often for chicken. It's handy for bagels and for cherry tomatoes, a whole tray of grapes all at once. It's pretty neat. All right, so a popular question about this close and cut is how do you clean it? So that's a great question. I'll put hot soapy water in the sink, and I'll take my cloth and I'll submerge the one side. I'll take my cloth and I'll push around the edges so that the plates push back and I get inside there. I'll do that top and bottom, and then I just put the whole thing in the dishwasher on the top rack. So it cleans up really nice. All right, so there's my chicken. Pan is heating up nicely. I'm gonna season the chicken, and I don't know how long you've been with me, but you probably already know that I use crushed peppercorn garlic on almost everything. So it has the loveliest coarse peppercorns and salt and bits of other stuff, and it's super flavorful, and it's really generic. It's like a really nice Montreal steak spice. So I use this on most things that I cook. And I do always buy these 2 at a time. All right, so there's one side. I'm gonna do the other side too. The pepper on these is so nice and fresh. I use it on every beef product for sure, and on my chicken breasts, my roast chicken. It's really nice. It's the only thing that I put on a prime rib when I cook that. Just a little bit of olive oil and some crushed peppercorn garlic. And of course, steak. Of course, steak. All right, so that's all I'm gonna put on there. I've got it on my reusable cutting mat here, so it was protecting my cutting board. I'm just gonna see if my pan is hot enough. Of course, the cast iron is also induction ready, so it works on my stove too. So here we go. What I want to hear is the chicken sizzle when I put it in the pan. There we go. So it's immediately caramelizing the edges. You want to put it in the pan and then leave it alone until it's time to turn it. If you try to turn it before it's ready, it'll stick like glue to the bottom. But you know, the best part about the pan itself, it's so responsive that those little bits that cook to the bottom of the pan, those are like gold if you're gonna make gravy or a pan sauce after. So today I probably won't, but if I was cooking, you know, a whole meal, then I totally would turn that into gravy. All right, so let's get rid of the chicken stuff. The next thing I wanna do is I have my stainless non-stick wok, and so it's a perfect combination of a non-stick pan with the responsiveness of stainless, and I'm going to get that preheating on the other burner. And I also picked up a pack of ground beef. So this is about 5 pounds, I think, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to use half of it in my, I'm going to cook half of it, just in the frying pan. I'm going to scramble fry it, and then I'm going to season it with taco meat. So I'm going to cook it with my mix and chop. Do you all have a mix and chop? This is Pampered Chef's #1 selling product of all time. I still sell about 400 of these every year. I would think everyone has them by now. But the mix and chop makes a perfect gift. It's a great thing to keep in your closet for when you need a quick gift, because no kitchen can be without it. So what I'm going to do is I'll just pop the ground beef into the skillet, and then I'm going to stir it this way, and it's going to break it up into the finest little crumbles. Just like that. Now I'll put the lid on. I'm going to let that cook itself. I'll check on it a couple of times and, you know, stir it around with my mix and chop. But for the most part, it's going to do its own thing. When it's finished, I'll drain it, and I will season it for taco meat, and then I keep it in Tupperware in the fridge so that it's ready for a quick salad in a jar, or a taco salad, or a wrap. So every week I make a batch of taco meat just to have in the fridge so that we don't snack on crackers. So when you're hungry, there's food to eat instead of crackers. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do, I've talked about salad in a jar twice now, and we have a really neat mason jar. I use it, you know, often when we're making lunch to go to work or to school, we use the mason jar, but it's only handy if the lettuce is already cut and in the fridge. So I gotta tell you about my salad spinner. When we introduced the salad spinner, however many years ago, it was $89, and I almost fell off my chair. I thought, who in the world needs an $89 salad spinner? Okay, fast forward all these years, I could not be without it. It's huge. Look at the size of it. Okay, and it has a basket for berries, and a basket for lettuce. It fits a whole head of romaine or 2 hearts. Oh, I need to turn my chicken. Look at that. Can you see how nice and golden that is? And nothing is stuck to the bottom. All right, so those aren't even close to cooked, but they are caramelized on the outside. As soon as they're good on both outsides, I'm gonna just pop it in the oven so it can cook gently to the middle. All right, so this fits a whole head of romaine or 2 hearts, and it spins at 17 miles an hour, so the lettuce is dry when you're done. So let's just quickly cut up the head of lettuce. I've got, I'm gonna hold the core end, and then I'm just gonna, did you know you can cut romaine with a knife? I'm just gonna cut the length of it, and then I give it a quarter turn and cut the length of it again, because how much do you like ordering a salad in a restaurant and getting the whole head on one forkful? Okay, I actually hate that. So now that I've cut it twice that way, I'm gonna just cut right off the end, nice, fine little slices, and all the way to the end until I'm left with just a core. All right, so now this is all cut nice and fine. I'm gonna put it in the basket. So romaine lettuce will keep for most of a week in the fridge as long as it's dry. If you have a salad spinner that doesn't spin it dry enough, you won't be able to do this. Okay, this is completely because I clean it and then it's dry. And same with a bag salad. Honestly, I love a bag salad. I think they're a great product, but they do need to be cleaned. So if you have, you know, keep a bag salad in the fridge for sure, but make sure that you have a salad spinner to clean it after or before you eat it. All right, so this is just soaking in some water here, and I'm going to drain it. Look how gorgeous this bowl is. It's just an acrylic salad bowl. I serve all my salads in this bowl. It's beautiful. All right, another minute, I think. So this is how you spin it. You just unleash the handle, and then you just gently pump it. And it spins way faster than the typical, you know, the one with the little knob that you just and if you let it spin, it'll go forever. So use this little brake. It comes screeching to a halt, and then you can drain the water that was in it. Okay, so I do that a couple of times. Do you know the reason why you want to make sure you have dry lettuce? When you, got an off-balance load. When you make a salad, the dressing is going to stick to the leaves if they're dry. So if they're wet, this dressing all pools in the bottom of the bowl, and it makes kind of like a little soup down there. And so you're going to want to make sure that, or so you're going to use way less dressing if your leaves are dry. All right, so 17 miles an hour. And look, my lettuce is stuck to the edges like laundry after the spin cycle. I love, love, love this salad spinner. So this is just gonna go in a Ziploc bag now in the fridge until we need it for a salad in a jar or a quick wrap. So the thing you need to know is that, you know, a little bit of preparation on a Monday makes the week so much nicer. All right, so I think we are ready to pop those chicken breasts into the oven. And the bacon is looking good. And I'm just gonna give my ground beef a quick stir. On a Wednesday to be able to open the fridge and see all this food in the fridge that you can eat, not just ingredients that you can cook with. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the other half of this beef. Now I would, some weeks I just scramble fry this without taco seasoning and I freeze it cooked. But this week, and so what I do with that is I make a cheeseburger meatloaf. And so it just starts with plain old ordinary cooked ground beef. And so I start my meal with that. It's already cooked. But this week I'm gonna make some burgers. So we used all our burgers up on the weekend and I like to keep some in the freezer. So my favorite recipe is the mild onion burgers. It starts with, excuse me, it starts with 3 slices or so of sandwich bread and about a half a cup of milk. Excuse me. And then it has 3 tablespoons of our 3 onion rub. All right. So this is another one that I keep on hand always. It replaces the onions in a recipe. If you have somebody who's fussy and doesn't like the texture of an onion, it does a great job of that. And so now I'm just going to turn that bread into a paste. And if you use, when you make burgers, if you use oatmeal or breadcrumbs, it's going to make for a juicier burger for sure. And so what's going to happen is it will, in the cooking process, it will soak up some of the fat and the juices from your burgers. And if you want a really light burger, I've already hydrated the bread with milk, and so it's not going to absorb a whole bunch more grease. All right, so there we go. That's what I've got, and I'm going to add to that the other half of my pack of ground beef. And I'm just going to, with my fingertips, I'm going to really gently push that in. I'm going to be careful to not overmix this. It's kind of like making pastry that way. If you overmix your burgers, they'll be tough. You want to make sure that the fat stays, you know, in kind of a form that it can sort of melt away, and it's not too blended too terribly well. Okay, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna do. Can you see the bread is still totally recognizable in there? I'm gonna use my burger press. This is one of my favorite summer items to use. It makes a perfect size burger every time, and the burgers are always flat. So I know if I make my homemade burgers without a form like this, they're often taller in the middle and skinnier on the edges, and so they cook drier to the edges before they're done in the middle, and I much prefer them being the same always. So I like to weigh my burgers. I like about a 5 or 6 ounce patty, and so I'll get that ready. And the perfect companion for my burger press is these patty papers, which you can buy on Amazon. Some dollar stores have them. I get them often at the Real Canadian Wholesale Club in Regina. So if you have one of those nearby, that's good too. So here's 6 ounces of beef on a patty paper. I put it in there and put another paper on top. And then I'm just careful to push equal on both sides because we don't want one end skinnier than the other. So equal on both sides and not too terribly hard. We just want to gently push it, because if you push it too hard, you know, all the bread that's soaked up all the milk, that's meant to provide a really light texture to your burger. And so we don't want to really demolish all of that. Okay, so that's how easy it is to make a burger patty. And these burger patties can be cooked from fresh or from frozen. So I'm gonna freeze mine, and then they'll be ready for the weekend. We often cook them on the weekend and have them ready to cook, or ready to eat rather, in the fridge. So I cook them right from frozen, and they don't take long at all. So even if I'm going to cook them fresh, I still use these patty papers to form the burgers. It turns this really neat little tool into something amazing. So of course you can make any kind of burger that you want. This is the kind that I like to make. So if you see a sale on ground beef, consider buying it and fill in your freezer with all that you'll need for the next few weekends. I just put mine, you can put them in Ziploc in the freezer, but then they have to, you have to be careful to not squish them till they freeze. I often put mine in Rubbermaid or Tupperware or something like that. They don't stay in the freezer too terrible long. So what do you think of that? That is super quick. It should make, from a half a pack of ground beef, it should make, this is lean ground beef too, it should make about 8 patties. Just like that. An empty bowl and a big stack of burgers. So, let's see what the bacon is looking like. I can smell it in the oven here. The bacon is perfect. They're all fully cooked and still flat, and I didn't need to turn any of them. So I'm just gonna put this on the stove here. And I'm gonna check the chicken. I love how everything comes together all at once. So I'm gonna take my thermometer, it's an instant read thermometer, and I'm just gonna test the temperature on one of these fatter ones. I'm looking for 165 degrees for the chicken. And we are there. That's perfect. Okay, so if this had been a turkey or a roast, I would have used the remote probe, and that stays right in the turkey while this part stays on the outside so that I can clearly see what the internal temperature is. This is the thermometer we've been waiting years for. That's about everything. I have all these meals kind of came together all at the same time. I'm gonna pop my burgers in the freezer, and once the bacon and the chicken cool, I'll get that packed into the fridge. And my taco meat is almost cooked, so as soon as it is, I'll drain it, add some taco seasoning, and it'll go in the fridge as well in a container. So this is, oh, and the lettuce, it'll go into a Ziploc bag in the fridge. So this is how I set up my week. I hope that, that you all have a similar system. If you do, I'd love to hear it. Take good care, everyone.